Hello, dear learners. I hope you all are keeping safe and in good health. Today we are going to read about Gulliver's travels. You might have traveled to different places and you must have noticed people of different color, size, etc. And also, each time you travel, your experience must be different. But Gulliver's experience with travel was very different. He accidentally came to land of giants. Let's read the chapter to see what Gulliver experienced that day. When a person tells the story of his life in his own words, it is called an autobiography. Gulliver, a sailor, was once caught in the land of giants. This is how he describes his experience. Here you come across a new word, autobiography. So, an autobiography is when a person tells the story of his life in his own words. So, Gulliver's Travels is an autobiography and Gulliver is a sailor. So, he accidentally came to land of giants one day. And let us see how he describes his experience. On the 16th of June 1730, we discovered land. Our captain sent a dozen men with vessels for water, if any could be found. When we came to land, we saw no river or spring, nor any inhabitants. I went on to explore. The country was barren and rocky. I turned back to join the crew, only to see them getting into the boat and rowing for life to get to the ship. Now, this story was written back in 1730s. So, this is the day, 16th June 1730 was the day when Gulliver and his team, his crew, discovered land. They explored land and their captain sent them in search of water. But they could not see any water body around, nor did they come across any living creatures on that land. So they went on further to explore. The country was not fertile and it was rocky. It was barren and rocky. They turned back to see the crew running for life. That means they saw something so odd that they wanted to run away from it, and they all tried to get into the boat, row and reach the ship as soon as possible. Before I could reach them, I observed a huge creature walking after them in the sea as fast as he could. The water of the ocean reached only till his knees. However, the monster was unable to overtake the speeding boat. I turned back quickly and climbed up a steep hill with fields of barley on either side and the corn rising up to 40 feet. There was a fence to pass from one field to the other. So, when this person turned around, he saw a huge creature walking after the other group members, and he was running as fast as he could. So, the water of the ocean was only till his knees. Imagine how big the creature would be. So the monster was, even though walking very fast, but it could not overtake the speeding boat. Then he turned quickly and climbed up a steep hill, and the hill was around the fields of barley, and the corn also was pretty high. It reached up to 40 feet. And there was a fence to pass from one field to the other. Well, let's quickly have a look at the difficult words from the first page. Autobiography is an account of a person's life written by that person. Giants, an imaginary being of human form but superhuman size. Discovered, find unexpectedly. Vessels, a ship or large boat, or also a hollow container. Spring, a water body where water comes from underground. Inhabitants, a person that occupies a place. Explore, Travel through an area to learn about it. Barren, a land too poor to produce any vegetation, or you can say a land that is not fertile. Crew, a group of people who work on and operate a ship, etc. Rowing is propelling a boat using oars. Observed is notice something. Creature is any large or small living thing that can move independently. Monster, a large, ugly, and frightening imaginary creature or a thing of extraordinary size. Overtake is to catch up with. Steep, a slope rising or falling sharply. Barley is a cereal. And fence is a barrier enclosing an area. Too many difficult words, isn't it, children? But don't worry, if at all you have a doubt, you can get back to me. Let us continue reading from the book. It was impossible for me to climb because every step was 6 feet high. I was trying hard to find a gap in the hedge when I discovered one of the inhabitants in the next field walking towards the fence. He was of the same size as the creature chasing the boat. I was struck with utmost fear and astonishment and ran to hide myself. He called in a voice much louder than a trumpet. It sounded like thunder. 7 monsters like him came towards the field, ready to reap the corn. They carried a reaping hook which was very big. When one of the reapers approached where I lay hidden, I screamed as loud as I could. The creature stopped reaping, picked me up between his thumb and forefinger, and brought me close to his eyes, 60 feet above the ground. He looked at me with curiosity and blew my hair aside to get a better view of my face. So children, as you can see in the picture, how big the creature is. And Gulliver, poor boy, looks so small. So, since everything in the giant land was very huge, very big, so it was very difficult for Gulliver to travel those steps. They were very high. So he was trying to find gap between the hedge, the bushes, and then he noticed one of the inhabitants, the person who lived in that place, walking towards the fence. This person was the same size as the first person they saw near the riverbank, who was chasing the boat. Okay, so Gulliver was astonished. He was surprised. This man, since he was huge in size, his voice also was very loud. So when he spoke, it seemed like someone was playing a trumpet. Trumpet is a musical instrument. And also it sounded like thunder. So 7 other men like him came towards the field to reap the corn. So this was a cornfield. So they carried huge reaping hooks, and one of them approached Gulliver, and Gulliver was hidden behind the bushes. The creature stopped and picked up Gulliver between his thumb and his index finger and brought him close to his eyes. And you cannot even imagine how high Gulliver was, because this man was really tall. He was 60 feet above the ground. And since this man also had never seen something so tiny, so he looked at curiosity and he blew Gulliver's hair to have a better view of his face. He called his friends and gently placed me on the ground. They all sat on the ground to take a good look at me. So he called his friends. When we see something different, how do we call our friends? Similarly, this giant man also called his friends to have a look at the little creature. Let's look at the difficult words from this page. Hedge is a boundary formed by closely growing bushes. Chasing means running after to catch. Struck is the past tense of strike. Utmost means extreme. Astonishment, great surprise. Trumpet, is a musical instrument. Thunder is a loud crashing noise after a lightning flash. Reap is to harvest or to cut the crop. Approached is come nearer. Scream, a loud, high-pitched sound. Forefinger is the index finger. And curiosity is a strong desire to know something. I walked slowly backward and forward, pulled off my hat, and made a low bow towards the farmers. I tried to speak to them loudly in several languages. Each time I did so, the farmer who picked me up held his ear very close to me, but in vain. The farmer took me to his house and placed me at some distance on the dining table, which was 30 feet high from the floor. So, this man tried to talk to the giants. But since he was so tiny and so small, his voice could not be heard by the giants. So, all that he did was in vain. So, each time every farmer picked him up, could not hear him. So, one of the farmers took him to his house and placed him at the dining table. And the dining table also was very high. It was 30 feet from the floor. Dinner was brought for the farmer in a dish which was 10 feet in diameter. The farmer's wife crumbled some bread and placed it before me. In the middle of the dinner, I heard a noise behind me. It was the purring of a cat. That was 10 times larger than an ox. The farmer's wife was stroking him. Then entered the farmer's 1-year-old son in the arms of a lady. On seeing me, the child grabbed me from the table and put my head into his mouth. I shouted so loudly that the baby dropped me. I would have broken my neck if the mother had not held her apron under me. Later, she put me on her own bed and covered me with a clean white handkerchief. So, imagine everything in this giant land is so huge in size. The dinner table was 30 feet high. The plate was 10 feet in diameter. The baby also was larger than the human in our world. So, everything was really huge. So, when this little boy saw this little creature on the table, he picked him up from the table and put him in his mouth. And this little creature shouted, and the baby got frightened and left him. So, the little lady luckily had her apron underneath. So, Gulliver was saved. Otherwise, he would have broken his neck. So, later, this lady put Gulliver on her bed and covered him with a clean white handkerchief. And then I slept dreaming of my house, my wife, and my children. So Gulliver slept that night. He dreamt of his house, his wife, and his children. So this particular story has been adapted from Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. Difficult words from this page are several, more than 2 but not many. Diameter, a straight line passing through the center of a circle. Crumbled, break into small fragments. Purring, to make a low, continuous, vibratory sound expressing contentment. A cat does this. Grabbed is to grasp suddenly. An apron is a protective garment worn over the front of one's clothes. That's all for now. I have enjoyed and I could actually imagine all the creatures while reading the chapter. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you. Bye-bye.